What's going on? Oh, you look angry. Who pissed you off today? I knew somebody pissed you off. Who pissed you off? Hold on a minute. Huh? You dropped what on your toe? Huh? You okay? Not your toe. You said not your toe. Can you walk? Let me call you right back. Mama dropped. A marble tape on her toe. All right, I'll call you right back. Hold on a minute. How you drop it on your table, Mama? Hold on, let me see. Did he cut it or something? Ouch. You say you broke your toe. On your pinky toe? Want that some of that Ben Gay? I'm trying to find that Ben Gay, actually. Okay. Well, you want this bottle of pills for her? No, no, I'm fine. No. Okay, that's fine. No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. Jason, you right there. Close the door. Yeah, I was like, can you close the door? Thank you. Oh, Lord. You okay though? Jesus Christ, Mama. Bro, I know you tripping. I know y'all tripping. That's how you tripping.
What was that? Nothing. Get Julius Randle back for a playoff run. He will undergo season-ending surgery on his right shoulder. Our senior insider, Adrian Wojnarowski, broke the news and is with us now. Woj, how did Julius and the Knicks arrive at this decision?
And Malika, ultimately, Julius Randle, in his consultation with, the Knicks doctors, with other specialists, it kept coming back to the same thing, that he was risking further injury, perhaps even lasting injury on that shoulder if he came back and re-injured it, versus getting that procedure done now and being in position to come back, around the start of next season. But certainly, Julius Randle exhausted every avenue to try to figure out a way to come back and play, rejoin this Knicks team that when he and OG Anunoby had played together for that brief window, 12-2 in their 14 games together, and certainly his understanding that this was a team that had a chance, to make a real run in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But in the end, for Julius Randle, despite trying in lots of different ways, exhausting every avenue, that medically he had to get this procedure and not risk maybe perhaps more significant injury in that dislocated right shoulder.
It's admirable in some ways that he wanted to go through every possible avenue in order to return. You and I both know that for many years he was known as an Iron Man in this league. But he did get hurt in January. So why did he wait so long before making this decision?
Malika, essentially to just do what we discussed, the idea that if there was a way he could come back, if there was a way that his shoulder could sustainably get through this season, get through a physical playoff series, multiple series, he wanted to play, and that ultimately it was just not strong enough to be able to withstand. You know how Julius Randle plays. He's a physical player, and the idea that he could further injure that shoulder, knowing that this is a Knick team that they can have this group back next season. They can be one of the favorites in the East. Certainly, they've got to re-sign OG Anunoby this summer. But it got to a point, I was told, with Julius Randle, where if he waited any longer, he was now risking, maybe missing more of next season than he needed to. So they decided finally now, get this procedure now. And the hope is, he can be back around the start of the 24-25 season.
Right, and that's so important to not just lose a portion of this season, potentially the most important portion of this season, but not next season as well. This is, though, Woj, as you know, such a bummer for Julius Randle. He takes such joy in being out on the floor, and this happened when the Knicks were up by 17 points in a game in January. So Randle posted this on Instagram this morning. He said, "The journey is the journey. Just keep going. It is what you think it is," with a couple of emojis there. This is NBA Today, presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, and this is just, there's no way else to slice it. It's a huge blow for the New York Knicks. This felt like a franchise that was revitalized this season, guys. They had some early successes with the play of Jalen Brunson, Kendrick Perkins, Brian Windhorst, Zach Lowe here with me as well. Brian, I mean, how devastating is this for the Knicks?
Well, I think the team had sort of come to terms with this over the last week or two.
Mm-hmm.
They knew that he had stopped really progressing with his rehab. I think it's important for fans to know that timeline that Woj outlined. It wasn't like Julius could have immediately had surgery in January and then been back.
Right.
He had to go through this. Going through this process left the door open for him to return. But I think what the Knicks now are looking towards is, can OG Anunoby get back? Because while this team was absolutely at their best with OG and Julius playing, when OG is playing, they've been a terrific team. And OG brings some of the things that Randle is now not going to be able to bring. So if they're able to get OG back, which is still on the table, I still think there's some matchups that are favorable for the Knicks. I still think they can have a playoff run.
Well, it's about time. I think it's about damn time when it comes down to Julius Randle. I was wondering what was taking him so long, because as a guy that had, 4 shoulder surgeries, I know how that process goes, and it don't end well when you try to rehab and come back. You have to go and get this thing repaired, and it was the right decision for him. And I know as a player, you want to try to do everything in your power, right? You go get a opinion from one doctor, and then you go get an opinion from another doctor, and they both tell you the same thing. But as a player, you're like, nah, maybe I can fight through it and defeat the odds, but that's not it. But for us, the Knicks, look, the organization, the Knicks fan base, as the mayor, I'm telling everyone to keep a cool book. It's okay. It's okay. And I understand the window. Like, if you look at the window of opportunity right now for us them to maximize in the Eastern Conference, how vulnerable the East look outside the Boston Celtics, you're like, man, we had a shot at it. But you can have a shot at it next year. And also, they have developed a culture that has become eye candy to the rest of the league. Now, I understand Wendy, Malika, Zach, y'all could dive into the first apron, second apron, and all that. I don't really know the logistics behind that. But what I will say is that if you get a disgruntled superstar this upcoming off season, New York is a great destination for them.
But you're already punting to this off season when this is a team that we were talking about making it to the Eastern Conference Finals potentially.
Yeah, because look, let's be real. When I look at the East, they still could make it to the conference finals, but the Knicks want to make it to the finals. And in order for them to get past the Celtics, they need everyone. And even when OG Anunoby gets back, he's not going to be 100%. He's still going to have problems with that elbow.
This is a crusher.
I love it when you shaking your head when I say
When I nod. You like it when I nod. This is a crusher for this season. Going forward, you're right. But for this season, I thought the Knicks at full blast could have been the second best team in the East and the team best positioned to push Boston really hard in a playoff series. There's still a roadmap for them to be really good. They're plus 10 for 100 possessions when Brunson plays and Randle doesn't. You mentioned Anunoby, and the two of them plus the rest of the team without Randle is still a good team. But I just don't think the ceiling is quite high enough to push Boston. In the playoffs, against the best teams, you need as many dudes as possible who can create their own shot from nothing. And Julius Randle can do that. And like Perk said, we don't know what condition OG Anunoby is going to come back in, if he's going to be able to stay healthy, how long he's going to be able to stay healthy, and all of that. So for now, it's a crusher. Long term, the Knicks have turned the page completely. They are in ideal position going forward. It stinks.
OG Anunoby has been dealing with that elbow issue, that elbow injury. Woj, what more can you tell us on if we can expect him back and in what condition as these guys have brought up?
No, exactly. And I think, and Zach said it, the question is getting OG Anunoby back and being able to have him healthy and keeping him back. He did return for a brief period, after that early February procedure on his elbow, and the inflammation, the irritation returned shortly after. What the Knicks are trying to do with OG Anunoby now is to bring him back when he's ready to stay back. Certainly looking at the big picture of the postseason, and they don't want to have him in and out of the lineup with this injury. So they're giving this injury time to heal, to get past that inflammation, irritation. And the hope is still that he can return. And when he returns, guys, that he can stay back and they can count on him being in the lineup and not in and out. And I think bringing him back the first time and then seeing him go out, it gave them a sense of how this injury was healing and how they would have to move forward with it. I think they learned something from that, and now they're trying to get him back in a way that allows him to remain on the floor and not be in and out of the lineup.
Do people realize how valuable OG is? I know we do, but do the fan base and people out there in the outside world realize
he's like 15-2 when he plays.
Yeah, he's the second most important player on this Knicks team, and that's including Julius Randle. Like with Julius Randle, no OG Anunoby, they're a really good team. OG Anunoby puts them into the teams for his title contenders.
See,
that's how much he moves the needle.
I agree with you on the ranking of the players, because if you're going to have the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands a lot, and my God, is that dude good? You want the ball in his hands a lot. A guy with OG Anunoby's skill set, 3 and D and A+ at both of those things is theoretically, and I think realistically, a little bit more valuable than a guy with Julius Randle's skill set.
Right.
But I think for this team to really get where they want to go, which as Perk said is conference finals and maybe finals, they need everybody. They could still do some damage in the playoffs if OG comes back. That's how good they are without him. But I just think their ceiling went from here to here, and that's the difference between Boston feeling threatened and not.
Right, because right now the Knicks, they currently sit as the fifth spot in the Eastern Conference, and there's really just a 2-game cushion between them and falling into the play-in tournament. As you can see here, tonight's game against the Kings, it's going to be a big one. But Perk, you know what's also huge?
What's that?
Caitlin Clark in Cleveland, preparing to face UConn in the Final Four. Is left in the regular season with all 10 seeds really up for grabs out west, at least the order of them. It's time for a little West Coast edition of Coast to Coast, so north to south. So we're starting now in our nation's capital. The Lakers, they got their 5th win on their 6-game road trip. LA has now won 8 of their last 9, Zach. They're the best stretch. Is this the best stretch of basketball they've played all season?
They've taken care of business against bad teams. A couple good teams, but mostly bad teams. That's what they're supposed to do. But yeah, they look good. They're 10 games off 500 now. They're a legit pretty good basketball team. Still 9th.
Legit pretty good basketball team. All right, next up, we're going to go to Phoenix. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, they combined for 72 points in a win over the Cavaliers. The Suns, they're back in 6th right now. Perk, do you think that they can keep this going and avoid the play-in tournament?
I don't know. They're 6-2 in their last 8 games. KD and D Book balling out. I still think their ceiling is not to get out of the play-in tournament, but to actually make noise in the West, and they're not going to do that unless Bradley Beal is a part of this offensively.
Well, how about the Magic? They handed the Pelicans their 3rd straight loss. New Orleans has tumbled from 4th to 7th in less than a week. And on top of that, Zion left the game early because of a finger injury. So, Brian, how concerned are you about the Pelicans here?
Well, it looks like he avoided major injury. You're always worried about these finger injuries, but certainly the Pelicans are losing ground. They've been suffering without Brandon Ingram. Their offense has really taken a step back. So how about we put some respect on Paolo Banchero's name? He had another terrific game last night. He's had a terrific season. Improved his shooting, and they need his offense, and they got it last night.
So given all that, this is what it all looks like in the West as of now. So just 2 games separate the 5th-seeded Mavericks and the 9th-seeded Lakers. There are only 10 days left for all of this to get sorted out. But one thing is for sure, and this is wild, Luka Doncic, Kevin Durant, Zion Williamson, De'Aaron Fox, LeBron James, Steph Curry. At least 2 of those names that I just rattled off will be sitting at home when the playoffs get underway. Not one, at least 2 of them. So we knew the Western Conference was loaded when the season started. We knew that this was going to be a wild finish, and there was always bound to have teams with real championship aspirations not make the playoffs at all. But Perk, I want you to fill in the blank here. The team who it would be the biggest disaster if they miss the playoffs is who?
The team that we talk about the most, the team that have arguably the greatest player of all time, the Los Angeles Lakers. This is a team that actually went to the Western Conference Finals last year. And for them not to make the playoffs, and they brought everyone back. They brought their quarterback. They re-signed Anthony Davis. You re-signed Austin Reeves. You re-signed Jared Vanderbilt, D'Angelo Russell. So for you to bring that core back and you don't make the playoffs, it would be the biggest disaster out of all those teams. So Phil Handy, Braun, Cam, don't get it done.
Phil Handy is the first guy on
Don't
that
get it
list.
done. Yeah, Phil Handy, my guy. But I had to call him out.
I'll tell you what the Lakers do have. They have some draft picks,
Yep.
and they have some tradable salaries and a little bit of flexibility to do stuff in the offseason. You know who doesn't have that? The Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, right.
This would be the biggest disaster of all these teams. The Phoenix Suns, whenever is more than all in, Phoenix put the chips in, put their mortgage in, put their cars in. They're all in, and they are trying like hell just to get out of the play-in tournament. And look, they may make it, and they'd be dangerous if they get in the playoffs. But to me, and if they don't make it, it's just Kevin Durant's going to be 36 soon. They're running out of time, and they went all the way in, and they got no outs.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way as Zach does. Yes, the Warriors are disappointing this year, especially if they don't make it. They've got 4 titles with those guys. The Lakers, even though you think they maybe should have achieved more with LeBron and AD in this stretch, they have won a title. They don't need this to prove it. Plus, as you said, they can improve their roster. The Suns are locked in. And I'm not sure, if you look at the rules and the second apron and all that stuff, I'm not sure that they can really do much with this roster. The 2 of their key players, Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal, are free agents. They can't trade them necessarily. So I think Phoenix has got the most in play, and they're playing well. I think they're playing with some urgency over these last few games.
But, and if that's how y'all feel, that's how y'all feel. But to my point is, it just goes to show you how great the Western Conference is and how trash the Eastern Conference is. Because, look, all these teams, no, seriously, all these teams that are in the play-in tournament right now are 11, 10 to 13
You're exactly
games
right.
above
You're
500.
exactly right. Phoenix is 14 games over 500.
That's what I'm saying. So
If they were in the East, they'd be fighting for home court in the first round right now. The Lakers are 11 games over 500. They would be smoothly out of the play-in in the East. It's not like these are failures. Obviously, they've underachieved, but it's not like these teams have collapsed.
Meanwhile, back in the East, the Bulls and the Hawks are 36 and 40, battling for 9 and 10 in a game that nobody cares about.
But the East, the top of the East too, is still a little bit shaky, and we need to get into that because coming up on our show, Milwaukee. Here's the thing: the Grizzlies really attacked the Bucks inside. They scored 78 paint points. That is the second most allowed by the Bucks in a game this season, and it's a troubling trend for Milwaukee. They also allowed 70 paint points on Tuesday against the Washington Wizards. So whether or not Dave and Chris Middleton are in the lineup, which obviously last night they weren't, this Milwaukee team, they probably should not be losing to the Wizards and the Grizzlies on back-to-back nights. Well, what do you make of this, Zach?
Yeah, you got to beat those teams. I'm not going to read too much into it because 2 of their top 4 players or 2 of their top 3 players probably were injured. Not a big panic game. But look, Boston is 13 games ahead of everybody else in the East. That's a joke. And the big picture here is New York, we talked about big injury blow. Cleveland's been under 500 since they were 35.
Hello. Hello.
I said I need to know what you want me to do. Then they not want to pay. We'll try something else.
So they don't have it. They don't have it.
They have it. Ooh, what's talking about? Who you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the last day when I was getting the Target.
Oh no, you ain't worry about that. I don't worry about all that.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Just the bottle and the bananas and the Sprite.
Yeah.
Nah, you gotta worry about all that, sweetie. Nah,
You
yeah.
said you wanted it.
But it's okay. I got my fruit. I got my fruit cups and everything. So no, I'm fine. You gotta worry about it. You gotta worry about that.
What did you eat?
Huh?
What did you eat?
Ate some mama shit, maybe something. That's what I ate that breakfast this morning. Mama, she cooked me some breakfast.
I know she ate this.
Yeah.